And next, we actually have another Awake board member, John Rapp, and he is, and with John's story, is a result of a family tragedy that got John deeply involved in the drive to decriminalize psychedelics in Seattle, which just succeeded last month, which has been wonderful news for everybody. And now in the drive to decriminalize them in all of Washington state, which is underway. John is an experienced trial lawyer, professional educator, and an ethics expert. He posts about cannabis and psychedelic law blog on his law firm, Harris Bricken, and they advise local and national psychedelic businesses. John also defends cases involving seizure of entheogens and will soon join the Chacruna Council for the Protection of Sacred Plants. He already belongs to the Sacred Garden community, a multi-sacrament church, and serves on its ethics council. John is most devoted to helping the least among us, the homeless, the hopeless, the addicts, the trauma survivors, and many others, to discover how entheogens can heal. And before law school, he was briefly a professional jazz trumpet player and a devotee of trumpeter Maynard Ferguson, who was one of the early proponents of psychedelics. I love all the lawyers who are musicians. So John hopes to help create the Methoxy 5, a jazz quintet of entheogenic practitioners. His talk today will be called What Decriminalization Means to You. Please welcome John Rapp.
All right, thank you, Lex. I'm delighted to be here today to support Awake's major missions to increase access to entheogenic substance abuse treatment and to create an online community for everyone in our growing movement. A new sphere, which is the word Teilhard refused to use to refer to a universal community of love. My topic today is what decriminalization means to you, a topic I'm sure many of you already know lots about. So I'll just offer some basic distinctions and data about recurring factors in our great work to reduce the risks associated with entheogenic use and supply. Then I'll offer brief thoughts for those of you who want to get more involved with this movement. Our success last month in Seattle and the long process that preceded it taught us a great deal. After 2+ years of setbacks, we persuaded the Seattle City Council to pass unanimously a resolution decriminalizing entheogenic use within the Seattle city limits. We are now also creating a statewide organization to promote decrim at the Washington state level. For those of you who haven't been deeply involved yet in the decrim movement, here's a very quick primer. In the US, laws are created at 4 primary levels of government: city, county, state, and federal. Any of these 4 levels of government can legalize entheogens, but only under their own laws and always subject to federal authority. So far, only the state of Oregon has legalized any entheogen, and only psilocybin. The new Oregon Psilocybin Advisory Board is guiding the state to establish a network of psilocybin service centers. Its licensing committee is chaired by my law partner, Dr. Mason Marks, whom I believe some of you already know. Oregon is in the vanguard now, but a few other states are active. Texas just passed a research bill supported by, of all people, former Governor Rick Perry. Psychedelic research bills in Connecticut, New York, and Pennsylvania are in process. A California bill is on hold, as are bills in Maine and Vermont. Under the Supremacy Clause of the US Constitution, federal law supersedes all these state laws. Decrim works because every government has power to choose their own law enforcement priorities. No government can do everything. So like the triage process in an emergency room, decriminalized jurisdictions simply choose to focus on crimes other than ones involving entheogens, violent crimes, for example. The Seattle City Council has now instructed city police to spend 0 resources here on entheogenic offenses. Seattle has joined a growing group that you've probably heard about: Oakland and others in California, Washington, D.C., Detroit, Ann Arbor, Grand Rapids and others in Michigan, Cambridge and other cities in Massachusetts. We hope this list will grow quickly. As of now, no major activity around decriminalization or legalization exists at the federal level yet. Progress seems to me inevitable. 66 US psychedelic patents already exist. At least 37 more are under review. The well-financed companies that own these patents will not wait forever. Meanwhile, the federal government does some enforcement. Plant medicines were seized by the federal government over 200 times during 2020 and 2021, an increase over 2018 to 19. This increase may result from additional time for seizures that COVID has allowed. Nearly all of these seizures were made by Customs and Border Patrol. DEA is rarely involved. State and local law enforcement are rarely involved either. In most cases, no arrest was made. In many cases, an assertion of religious freedom ended the case. In short, federal prohibition abides. Only 3 fully legal venues currently exist for entheogenic use in the US: ketamine clinics, clinical trials, and visionary churches. We need more options. So local and state decrim must proceed while we await federal enlightenment. We must transfer momentum from Seattle and other decrim jurisdictions to new ones. So based upon my year working in Seattle's decrim process and observing the Oregon process, here are 5 personal observations, just my own, that might assist new groups organizing for decrim in other places. Number 1, focus on education. Many big cities have already de facto decriminalized entheogens. Thus, a decrim campaign often is as much about educating the public as it is about reducing legal risks. Public comments and testimony given at city, county, and state venues are time-consuming, but often indispensable. Personal testimonies from voters paired with research data seems to be the most effective option. Number 2, prioritize management. The Seattle Decrim Group experienced multiple changes of leadership and political consultants. Only a few people were involved over our full 30-month process. The changes were often due to differences over strategic priorities. Look for leaders who know how to keep your team well focused. 3, resolve differences early. The entheogenic movement is full of wonderful people who often disagree on key priorities. Just as we were about to succeed with the Seattle City Council, just a few weeks before our decriminal resolution ultimately passed, the psychedelic exceptionalism issue appeared that some of you are aware of. Some key players believe that psychedelics should be decriminalized only if all drugs are. It's a long story how this issue arose and was resolved. It's just an example of how early values clarification can aid decrim work. You may know of other thorny issues, for example, sourcing of mescaline. 4, choose your level carefully. Many liberal cities are in counties and states that are much less liberal than they are. Decriminalization in a blue city often means little or less in more conservative parts of a state. Statewide groups require far larger tents and also generally require dramatically more resources to succeed. 5, and last, read the news. As the psychedelic renaissance flowers, many underinformed people hear about decrim. We must know what they think they know in order to win them over. I've met many fine, smart people who think that all illegal drugs are the same. Currently, many ask about therapist abuse. We must be ready to answer. Our ethics may matter now as much as our legal views. So thanks for listening and being here today. Please join the decrim movement if you've not already. Little is more urgent in our hurting world. Let me know if I may assist you in any way. And thank you, Lakshmi, for your long work to create this exciting new awake community. Thank you.